My boyfriend passed a piece of fruit to the flirty freshman girl who had been chasing him, using his mouth. And I saw it with my own eyes. Ethan came running out of the private room after me, saying he'd had too much to drink, and it was just a game. I pushed him away and said coldly, "Let's break up." He raised an eyebrow and simply replied, "Whatever you want." I turned around, but I couldn't hold it in. Tears burst out uncontrollably. I wiped them away in a panic and walked off without looking back. Ethan didn't follow me. In his mind, that one excuse was already him lowering himself. In our relationship, he had long been used to this pattern. No matter how many times we argued, expecting him to come and comfort me was nothing but wishful thinking. For him, that single line, "I was drunk," was already a rare act of humility. I should have been smart enough to back off, but this time I was exhausted. I didn't want to compromise anymore. When I got back to the dorm, I hid under the covers and kept replaying the image of their lips almost touching. Ethan showed no signs of being uncomfortable or offended. Instead, the corners of his lips were slightly raised, and there was even a faint smile in his eyes. That kind of silent, ambiguous indulgence was something I had rarely, if ever, seen from him when it came to me. The truth was, both Jenna and I were just extras in that club skit, and I'd put in more than 3 times the amount of recording time she had. But in front of Ethan, she effortlessly got the kind of affection I never received. I wiped my face, now damp again, opened WeChat and stared at our chat history. It had frozen at the point where my endless concerns met his silence. "Why aren't you answering your phone? What are you so busy with? If you're going to the party, don't drink too much. Your stomach's not good." Looking back, he must have been caught up in a sweet moment with her then. Why would he spare a thought for me? Through those agonizing hours, Ethan said nothing more beyond that one brief response. My phone suddenly vibrated, snapping me back to reality. It was a new message from the alumni group chat. So what was I so disappointed about? Even when you witness something with your own eyes, hearing 1,000 lies after that would still be nothing more than self-deception. Not to mention, Ethan wouldn't even consider ending our Cold War unless I reached out first. Seniors buying barbecue? Anyone want to join? Locations in the group. That was followed by a group selfie taken at the barbecue stand. Ethan's face stood out so clearly, it was impossible to pretend I didn't see it. Sitting next to him was Jenna. Draped over her shoulders was a coat, my gift to Ethan for his birthday. He had told me, "With this trench coat, even in the coldest weather, thinking of you will warm me up." Now their smiles were radiant, like they were born to be together. I clenched my phone. My heart ached like it'd been scalded. So this is what it felt like, my pain being so trivial in the face of someone else's happiness. I opened the chat thread between me and Ethan. What used to be affectionate nicknames had grown cold. Our late-night conversations had become habitual silence. The way he used to care for me had long since expired, but I had stupidly believed there was still hope. Memories were like sugar on the edge of a blade. The more I longed for them, the deeper they cut. In the end, I blocked him. When you've truly loved someone and deeply cherished the relationship, letting go always comes with unbearable pain. I allowed myself just one night to cry. The next morning, I only got out of bed when I received a call from the courier. "Someone sent you flowers. Please come down and sign for them." Forcing myself to get up, I went downstairs and accepted a huge bouquet of bright, beautiful baby sunflowers. Hidden inside was a postcard written by the florist on someone's behalf. "Be happy." Guess who sent them? In that chaotic moment, my mind involuntarily wandered to my ex. I opened WeChat and suddenly remembered he had been on my block list all night. No new friend requests, no unread messages. Absent-mindedly, I tapped back into the buzzing alumni group chat. On the screen, Ethan's profile picture and name kept flashing by. At that moment, he was chatting and laughing with someone else, acting carefree and playful. The bouquet in my arms suddenly stopped being beautiful. It snapped me back to reality. Of course, it couldn't be from him. From last night until now, Ethan hadn't even once thought about reaching out to me, which meant he still hadn't noticed I'd blocked him. Or maybe he had noticed, and just thought that being strangers suited us better. My leaving hadn't affected his happiness in the slightest. Ethan had long since gotten used to living life alone. But for me, it had only just begun. I didn't contact him at all for an entire week after that day. For someone like me, who normally couldn't last more than a day of the silent treatment before caving in, that was a miracle. I didn't want to keep drowning in heartbreak, so I forced myself to pull it together, threw on some clothes, and decided to go out for some fresh air. Of course, fate had other plans. At the supermarket checkout line, I ran into Ethan. He froze when he saw me, and his gaze quickly turned cold, as if we truly were just strangers. I'd seen that indifferent expression before. Every time I was the one to break down first and come looking for him during our fights, he'd give me the same look, certain that I would eventually give in. I averted my eyes, pretending not to see the feminine products in his hands. Just then, Ethan's phone rang. He picked up and spoke gently, his voice like warm water. "Jenna, hang on a second, I'm almost done here." He was always detail-oriented, and afraid she might not be satisfied, he'd grabbed a few options from different brands. I suddenly remembered that day not long ago when Ethan and I went to see a movie together. I'd gotten sudden cramps so bad I couldn't stand. He helped me sit down, brought me brown sugar, and a cup of hot water. I hadn't even had time to be touched before hearing him mutter under his breath while playing a mobile game. "Girls are so much trouble." The care that felt like a rare reward when it came to me had been Jenna's from the very start, freely and fully given. I numbly scanned my phone and checked out, thinking bitterly about how many times I had deluded myself into believing Ethan actually liked me, even just a little. I walked away quickly, not sparing him another glance. Naturally, I didn't notice the awkward tension written all over his face, at least not until Ethan grabbed my arm. A gesture that once felt intimate now just made my skin crawl. I yanked my arm away and asked coolly, "What is it?" Ethan furrowed his brow, his usually indifferent eyes now fixed on me, like he was trying to figure something out, maybe realizing I was no longer the same person. He hesitated for a long time, fidgeting with his fingers, before finally muttering that it wasn't a convenient time for him to buy this stuff, that he was just helping out. Was he? Explaining? But what did that have to do with me? I stared at him blankly. When he saw I wasn't reacting, a hint of irritation flickered across his face. "It's been days," he said. "You still haven't had enough of this drama?" So, in his mind, when I said I wanted to break up, it was just another round of pouting. That's why he'd handled it the way he always did, ignoring it, waiting for me to come around and beg to make up, clinging to him like I was some optional accessory in his life. What made Ethan think I couldn't live without him? Turns out once your heart truly dies, not a single word from that person can stir even a ripple inside you. "Ethan, do you not understand what breaking up means?" I let out a cold laugh. He stood there for a while, his mouth opening and closing, speechless. "You're the one who said you liked me," I reminded him. "You're the one who promised that no matter what happened, you'd always treat me well." For a moment, Ethan's eyes flashed with confusion and panic, like he was watching a once docile creature slip from his control, no longer obeying his commands. But my heart was calm, unshaken. Years ago, he had been carefree and reckless, and one day, without meaning to, he stepped in when I was being harassed by some thugs. Later, I found out Ethan came from a broken home. His parents had split and gone their separate ways, never bothering to check in on him again. So I clung to him, pouring all my patience and warmth into trying to soften his lonely heart. But after all this time, he still had no idea what love really meant. I looked him in the eye and said, slowly and clearly, "Like you said, it was back then. I don't want it anymore, and I won't ever want it again." I turned and walked away. Panicked, Ethan tried to grab me again. Just then, a boy on a bicycle came wobbling straight toward us. Even though I no longer loved him, my body still reacted out of some leftover habit. I pushed him aside and saved him from getting hurt. The bicycle hit me, and I fell hard to the ground. My palm and leg were scraped and bleeding. Ethan hadn't expected me to react like that. He stood there, stunned, for a long moment before finally rushing over. But just as he reached me, his phone rang, sharp and urgent. He glanced at the name flashing on the screen and froze. I didn't need to look to know it was Jenna. Before he could move, the boy on the bike had already rushed over, crouching down beside me with a frown as he looked at my bleeding wounds. "I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" I gritted my teeth and watched as Ethan hesitated for a few seconds, then chose to answer the call first. "I'm fine," I said hoarsely. "I'll take you to the campus clinic," the boy offered. As he helped me up, his student ID card slipped from his pocket. The photo showed off his striking, handsome features. His name was Liam Yun. Up close, I realized the photo barely did justice to his face. His nose was high and straight, his eyes deep and dark, his lashes long and thick, and his skin pale with a cool undertone. I was momentarily distracted by how stunning he looked. He seemed oddly familiar, like I'd seen him somewhere before. Liam looked at me with concern when I didn't respond. "Can you walk?" I wanted to say it wasn't that bad, that I could just put on some ointment myself. But before I could speak, I suddenly felt my body lift off the ground. Liam had picked me up in his arms. I froze. Ethan ended his call with Jenna at almost the same moment, his expression turning dark as his voice rose sharply. "Where did you come from? Who told you to pick her up like that?" Liam couldn't be bothered to answer. He raised an eyebrow and asked me instead, "Is he your boyfriend?" I answered honestly, "Ex-boyfriend." The corners of Liam's lips twitched slightly into a smirk. He glanced at Ethan, who was now fuming and speechless, and said coolly with sarcasm, "Then it's none of your business." The campus doctor cleaned the sand out of my knee wound, stopped the bleeding, and bandaged me up. Liam stayed nearby the whole time. After paying the bill, he tried to carry me again, but I quickly stopped him. "I can walk." Dating Ethan for so long had taught me one thing. Never trouble others with things you can do yourself. You wouldn't get comfort, you might even get scolded for cutting into his gaming time. Seeing how firm I was, Liam didn't insist. "Can I borrow your phone for a second?" he asked. I handed it over after unlocking it. This Liam guy was actually pretty decent. He hadn't stopped apologizing since the accident, did everything I asked without question, and even offered compensation without hesitation. Although, for someone his age to still be learning how to ride a bike, it was a little funny. He tapped in a few numbers, and then his own phone rang. After noting it down, he handed mine back. I glanced at it. There was a new friend request on WeChat. The username was just one simple word, Yun. "These next few days, your leg might be a bit inconvenient," he said, his eyes, too pretty for their own good, soft with barely noticeable warmth. "I'll go with you to meals in class." I opened my mouth to decline, but he quickly cut me off. "It's settled." He gave a small, mischievous smile, trying to talk me out of my stubbornness. "There are too many steps on campus. With a boyfriend this considerate, you really shouldn't try to tough it out alone." I felt extremely awkward. Liam either didn't hear or simply didn't react. His expression stayed calm as he added, "You misunderstood. We've only known each other for less than half an hour." "Bro," I started to say, but before I could finish, I heard a girl shouting outside the door. The voice was all too familiar. Just as Liam turned around, someone rushed in and threw her arms around him. "They said you were at the clinic and that it was a really bad fall. What happened?" "Where are you hurt?" Jenna cried. As expected, fate seemed determined to keep tying us together. I looked at the sweet sibling reunion coldly and thought, "Where am I hurt?" "Right where you landed on me." Not wanting to stay in that cursed place a second longer, I braced myself and stood up to leave. But just as I moved, Liam quickly stepped forward and grabbed my arm. Startled, I instinctively jerked away as if I'd been burned. Liam's face stiffened. He quickly let go and pretended like nothing had happened. "I'll walk you out," he said. Jenna finally stopped fussing over her brother and turned her gaze to me, her smile sweet but clearly forced. She made a needless self-introduction. "Senior, do you remember me? I'm Jenna, from the Media Studies department." How could I not remember? Back when I was helping with freshman arrivals at the train station, Jenna was the very first one I met. I was the one who carried her luggage under the blazing sun and walked her to her dorm. When it started pouring during an outdoor event, I gave her the only umbrella we had. And when she didn't have money on her cafeteria card, I was the fool who paid for her meal. I genuinely thought I'd made a good friend. Turns out, behind my back, she was flirting with Ethan. And my boyfriend didn't push her away. He just quietly tolerated her inching closer, never setting any boundaries. I used to think I was just too sensitive, always giving them excuses even when I felt uneasy. until they used a party game as cover for their public display of intimacy. That was the moment I realized I didn't need a boyfriend like that. Jenna looked at her brother and giggled. Liam, I think Snow doesn't really like me. I mean, she ran into me and everything. If she's mad, that's understandable. Her words were laced with venom wrapped in syrup. She playfully added, "How about I walk her back instead?" "No need," Liam and I said in unison. His eyes flicked to the bandages wrapped around my knee. Then he turned to Jenna, voice flat, "Don't get in the way, go back to class." Jenna pouted in protest, but Liam shot her a cold glance. She backed down immediately, though clearly reluctant. Then Liam came back over to me. I could have walked on my own, but one glance at Jenna's sour, defeated expression and I changed my mind. "Liam," I called out softly, deliberately leaning into a weak tone. "You said you'd walk me, right?" His eyes darkened slightly, and a faint smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. "Your leg still hurts, walking might be hard." I made a pitiful face, exaggerating the pain just a bit. Liam picked up on it right away. Under Jenna's stunned gaze, he lifted me back into his arms. His chest was warm, and for a second, I thought I could hear the pounding of his heart. Maybe it was just in my head. Jenna bit her lip, clearly about to explode, but something about Liam held her back. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt this deeply satisfying sense of relief. To get back at my green tea rival, I had started getting close to the person she cared most about, her older brother. From that day forward, Liam kept his word. Rain or shine, he showed up to escort me. But I wasn't shameless. I only let him help with the stairs. The rest of the time, I managed on my own. His personality was the complete opposite of Jenna's, cool and calm. But underneath, there was a quiet warmth. One day, we were leaving the library when I casually mentioned that I was craving cake. The next morning, I spotted him waiting at the dorm entrance with a delicate-looking box in his hand. When he saw me, he handed it over wordlessly. Inside was a slice of cream cake, strawberry, my favorite. I looked at his expressionless face and thought, this has to be a coincidence. "Thanks," I said anyway. When I confirmed that I really liked it, the hesitation in his eyes melted away a little. "I'm going to a pottery studio tomorrow with some friends," he said, his normally cool gaze brightening slightly. "Want to come?" With a mouthful of strawberry cream, I hesitated. "I'm not great with crafts," I said. "I'll probably end up making a bunch of weird-looking stuff." He chuckled and reached out to gently brush a leaf out of my hair. "Just have fun with it. Who cares what it looks like?" The next day's pottery event was lively. Liam had invited his close friends, and we were all around the same age. After some introductions, I felt right at home. Liam slowly rolled up his sleeves, sat down and started working the clay in front of him. I glanced around curiously, everything feeling fresh and new. Ethan had rarely introduced me to his friends. He always said guys couldn't enjoy themselves when girls were around. Even without friends, he seldom took me out to do anything. There was a time I was really into pottery. I practically begged him to come with me. He always had some excuse to get out of it. "What's so fun about playing with dirt? How is this any different from mud? It's a waste of money and boring. Wouldn't it be better to stay in the dorm and play games?" After hearing those comments a few times, I eventually gave up. I never imagined that after breaking up, I'd finally get to fulfill such a simple little wish. The thought stung. Snapping back to reality, I looked up and met Liam's eyes. He gestured to the seat next to him. "Want to give it a try?" I nodded, a little excited. Just as I placed my hands on the spinning clay wheel, my phone suddenly rang. Since my hands were messy, I quickly wiped my fingertips clean and tapped the speaker button. "Chin's drunk. He can't even walk." "Can you come pick him up?" said Chen Song, our mutual friend with Ethan. I instinctively looked toward Liam. He paused briefly, then lowered his head and went back to what he was doing, pretending not to hear. "Snow, what's going on between you two?" Chen Song sounded exasperated. "Ethan's been looking for you. He's not doing well. Please come." I frowned and gave a quick wipe to my hands before getting up and walking out. Ethan rarely drank. He had a lot of pride and liked to keep up appearances, so the few times he did get wasted, I was the only one who had seen it. When he was little, his mom remarried and his dad found someone new too. Both sides had new kids. There wasn't any attention left for him. Even on his birthday, once a year, neither parent remembered to call. I was the only one with him on those birthdays. That was when I first saw him drunk out of his mind, emotionally collapsing, asking me over and over, "Am I the worst person in the world? Is that why even my own parents didn't want me?" He'd cry about how everyone else had warm homes, loving families, things he never really experienced. I held him tight and cried with him, whispering, "You still have me. I'll always be here." Because of what he'd been through, I kept giving in during our relationship. I couldn't bear to let him hurt, not even a little. I even naively believed that his restless heart would finally come to rest in my warmth. But all that wholehearted devotion had only earned me cold betrayal and pain. Gripping my phone, I felt my fingers curl tightly around it. My chest, tightened like an invisible hand, was squeezing my heart. I couldn't breathe. Standing by the door, I looked through the glass and saw Liam in profile. He was staring blankly at the clay in front of him, his expression heavy, distant, carrying a quiet kind of loneliness. In that moment, I had the oddest feeling. He seemed like someone afraid I might leave. "Chen Song, maybe Ethan didn't tell you," I said quietly. "We broke up." There was a pause on the other end, then a muted, reluctant sigh. "That freshman girl who's been around him lately. You've probably seen her." Just saying it filled me with a bitter, powerless kind of anger. We had mutual friends, Ethan and I. Yet none of them thought to tell me anything when they saw him getting close to someone else. I'd been in the dark for so long, like a fool. I only came to mind when he was drunk and needed someone to clean up the mess. "I'll send you his number," I said. "You call him. Let him know to come get Chin. They seem to get along." "Snow, that thing with her, it was a misunderstanding," Chen Song said, his voice full of guilt. "She's not even that into Ethan. He didn't mean anything by it. He just thought she seemed fragile, needed someone to look after her. So because I'm caring and capable, I deserve to be cheated on and left to clean up after him?" I cut him off, cold. They're a great match. Him getting drunk is the perfect opportunity to bring them closer. If I interfere now, it'd just make me look pathetic. Chen Song tried to say more, but I was done listening. Even though I'd already said no, he still didn't get it. I didn't want to hear another word, but honestly, there wasn't even the slightest bit of satisfaction in my heart. When Ethan got drunk in the past, he had a tendency for extreme self-destructive behavior. I hated the idea of him doing something reckless because of me. Since we had already broken up, for better or worse, I didn't want anything to do with him anymore. Not even a little. While I was lost in thought, Liam finally stopped what he was doing. He looked over at me and asked, "Something on your mind?" I blinked and shook my head. To be fair, Liam had been nothing but kind to me. In fact, his thoughtfulness caught me off guard. We hadn't known each other long, but sometimes it felt like he understood me better than people who'd been around for years. He knew what I liked to eat, what I couldn't stand, even which artist I was currently obsessed with. Somehow, he even managed to get me a ticket to that artist's concert. Liam brushed it off, saying a friend had given it to him. But I knew he was lying. The tickets were a limited fan benefit, released quietly, barely promoted. Only loyal fans even knew to look. I tried for days to get one, and still failed. No way someone just happened to have one, and then gave it away. When I pressed him about where he got it, he pretended to be annoyed and said he'd forgotten. Left with no choice, I had to accept the gesture. Before I realized it, my phone had become filled with messages from him. Liam wasn't much of a talker, and his texts were always brief. "Bought you something to eat downstairs. Time to change the bandage on your knee. Don't eat cold stuff during your period. Hot water's ready on the stairwell. Fruits at the dorm office. Pick it up after class. Don't stay up late. Go to sleep. Got that book you wanted to read. Waiting for you outside the dorm." At first, he said he was helping me out of guilt because of the accident. I only agreed to it out of spite toward Jenna. But the nicer Liam was to me, the heavier my guilt became. My leg had already healed. I knew it was time to be honest. I was still caught in my thoughts when his calm voice pulled me back. That's when I realized Liam was standing right in front of me. When I looked up, he frowned slightly and gently lifted my chin with his warm hand, forcing me to meet his eyes. "Why do you look so upset?" I glanced away, avoiding his gaze. but he kept looking at me until I finally gave in and sighed. I borrowed a friend's car. Come on, he said softly. He lifted the corners of his lips, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. If you're that worried, I'll go with you. In the end, I couldn't say no to Liam. So we went together. But as soon as we reached the hotel entrance, I regretted it deeply. Ethan was wobbling on his feet, his legs barely holding him up. Chen Song was helping to support him. The moment Ethan saw me and Liam together, his emotions flared. His eyes were red with rage. No wonder you've been ignoring me for days, he growled. Damn, Snow, you really move on fast. Not even a clean break before you're all over someone else, clinging to him every day like glue. His drunken accusations were loud, furious, and completely out of line. Honestly, he seemed pretty sober to me. Let's go, I muttered to Liam, totally done with this scene. I just wanted to get out of there before I suffocated. Beside us, Chen Song raised his voice in frustration. Ethan, quit acting tough. What's the point? Just admit it, you want to get back with her. You've been calling her name non-stop while drunk, and now you're acting like she's your enemy. What are you doing? I stopped in my tracks. Had I heard that right? Ethan wanted to get back together? You two were together for 2 years. You can't fake feelings that long, right? Couples fight, they break up and make up, it's normal. Ethan, go apologize to Snow properly. Whatever issues you've got, work them out. No relationship goes without a few bumps. I understood exactly what Chen Song was trying to say. Chen Song was clearly trying to play the peacemaker, pushing for Ethan and me to get back together. But I no longer wanted even the slightest entanglement with Ethan. His words were also full of thinly veiled jabs at Liam. Liam's expression darkened. Out of respect for me, he stayed silent, only pressing his lips together tightly in quiet restraint. Ethan, on the other hand, looked at him with undisguised hatred. Reeking of alcohol, he sneered with venom. Snow, I know you too well. You're just using him to piss off Jenna because you hate her. Don't act like you actually like her brother. You've only known him for a few days. Did it ever occur to you that he might be playing you? His bitter accusations exposed every dark suspicion he had, with no regard for my dignity. But even if Liam and Jenna were siblings, they were two entirely different people. These past few days with Liam had only made me more certain that he wasn't the kind of person Ethan described. Whatever had happened between Jenna and me didn't give me the right to take it out on someone who had treated me with nothing but genuine care. I felt ashamed. I looked over at Liam awkwardly. His eyes were filled with disbelief and hurt, but not a trace of resentment or anger. When our eyes met, I could see his throat bob slightly before he spoke in a calm, soft voice. Whether what he said is true or not, I don't care. That kind of kindness only made my heart ache more. If Ethan had already abandoned decency, I saw no reason to hold back either. Getting back together? Not a chance. Not in this lifetime. The tangled emotions in my chest tightened like a rope pulling around my heart. Before I could think, I blurted out, "Who says I don't actually like him?" Did Ethan really think I would just come and go at his command? That I'd crawl back the moment he snapped his fingers? Shameless. Why did he think he had that kind of power over me? Everyone around us froze. Ethan narrowed his eyes, trying to see through me. Chen Song assumed I was just talking out of spite. "Snow, Ethan's drunk," he said quickly. "Don't take it to heart." But I didn't respond. Instead, under the shocked stares around me, I wrapped my arms around Liam's neck. Just as my lips were about to brush against his, reality snapped back into place. He's going to hate me for this, I thought. He's going to push me away. He'll think I'm just using him to win an argument. I hesitated, ready to pull back. But before I could, Liam's arm locked tightly around my waist, and he kissed me hard. I was stunned. The scent of him washed over me, clean and comforting. His arms were warm, and I felt myself melting into them. It was the kind of warmth that made my bones go soft. It wasn't until Ethan, red-faced and furious, lunged toward us, and Jenna's piercing scream split the air, that I finally came back to my senses. Blushing furiously, I pushed Liam away. In the chaos, I heard Jenna shriek, "Snow, you're insane." Her face looked like she was seconds away from clapping in wild applause. It was bizarre. Shouldn't she have rushed over to rip my hair out after I kissed the brother she was obsessed with? Instead, her expression was almost admiring, like she genuinely approved of what I'd done. Still dazed, I found myself being pulled back into Liam's arms. He glared at Jenna, his voice low and furious. Perfect timing. I've got a lot of things to ask you. Ethan, stunned, speechless, finally exploded into curses. But Liam's glare cut straight into him. His voice turned cold and sharp. If you harass my girlfriend again, I won't be so polite next time. That was a side of Liam I'd never seen before, his anger clear, his words full of strength. The tension in the air was unbearable. A fight could break out any second. I quickly pulled Liam away, doing everything I could to get him out of there. In the car, I sat in the front passenger seat. Jenna sat silently in the back. Liam's long fingers tapped the steering wheel a few times. His face was still dark, brows slightly furrowed. Then he turned to me and asked in a low voice, "What exactly happened between you two?" "Snow, you first," he added. Jenna hesitated, clearly scared of him. She twirled a strand of her hair and said cautiously, "Or, maybe you should hear my side first?" "Shut up." Jenna instantly went quiet. I cleared my throat and, under Liam's gaze, straightened my back and said firmly, "Your sister had her eyes on my boyfriend before we even broke up. I guess Ethan enjoys secondhand trash, so I let him have her." Tears welled up in Jenna's eyes immediately. She cried out, her voice trembling with frustration and injustice. "I would never go for someone like Ethan. That bastard? Please, the only reason I said anything is because I thought you and my brother were already super close." She sobbed, leaning forward between the seats. To prove she wasn't lying, Jenna swiped through the photos on her phone and turned the screen toward me. "Ethan loves flirting behind your back," she said. "It pissed me off so many times. I wanted to tell you, but I was scared you'd go soft and forgive him the moment he acted pitiful. I figured if I didn't set him up and force him to show his true colors in front of you, there'd be no other way." Photo after photo on her phone showed Ethan laughing and flirting with different girls, arms slung around shoulders, hands on waists. Some I recognized like his childhood friends, others were total strangers. I used to trust him so much. I'd convinced myself that he might be emotionally reserved, but he would never cross the line. Who knew he'd been lying to me for so long? Those girls surrounded him, giggling, clearly unaware of, or simply unconcerned with me. They must have believed every one of his lies. Maybe they even laughed at how clueless I was. My fists clenched tighter and tighter. My whole body trembled. I dug my nails into my palms until it hurt. That's when a warm hand gently covered mine. It was Liam. With his other hand, he reached over and covered the screen, his voice cold and dismissive. "Put it away. Nothing worth seeing." Jenna huffed and pulled her phone back, but was still full of righteous fury. "You're such a kind and gentle person. How could a scumbag like that get to ruin you?" Her eyes welled with anger. For your happiness and my brother's, I was willing to be the sacrificial bait. She leaned in to hug me, but I dodged. Her face instantly turned pitiful and teary. "Please, whatever it takes to make you feel better, just say the word." My so-called rival had suddenly turned into an ally, and the emotional whiplash left me reeling. "But, didn't you hate me getting close to your brother?" Jenna immediately lit up with a smug, knowing grin. "My brother guards you like you're a national treasure. The more hostile I act toward you, the more he sticks to you like glue. And now you two are all, you know." "You know?" Liam slapped her lightly on the head. It didn't hurt, but the insult was obvious. Expressionless, he warned her, "If you're gonna say dumb things, say less." "Oh, come on, don't pretend," Jenna huffed. "You've had a thing for Snow for a long..." Smack. Another slap. Truly, the way she flirted with danger was impressive. I said, "Shut it, don't you get that yet?" Defeated, Jenna was sent off to get milk tea on Liam's orders. My attempts to stop her failed miserably. She hopped out of the car, all cheerful and obedient. But before leaving, she leaned in with a gossipy grin. "Wait, no, I mean sis-in-law, that kiss you just gave him? Bet my brother's gonna be sleepless for days. I'll get out of your way now. You two, enjoy yourselves, not talk yourselves." My entire face turned red. Liam acted like he didn't hear her, but the light pink flush creeping up the tips of his ears gave him away. He was fiddling with his phone, typing something. After a moment, he looked up at me, eyes soft and clear. "I booked the tickets. Let's go to the beach tomorrow." The vast ocean, the free wind, maybe it really could wash away painful memories. He was comforting me in his own quiet way. Somehow, I always understood his intentions without needing them explained. I looked at him, suddenly full of courage. Liam, you've known me for a long time, haven't you? The way he understood my every little habit, every tiny preference, it had long made me suspicious. Jenna's words had finally made everything click. If we just met, how could he know me so well? It was the question I wanted answered more than anything. But Liam didn't seem eager to reply. I panicked, afraid he'd escape the question, so I reached for the door handle, planning to circle around to the driver's seat and trap him into answering. The moment I opened the door, he grabbed my wrist and pulled me back. His eyes pleaded with mine, his voice raw and tight. "Don't go, I'll tell you." He must have thought I was angry with him, and in his panic, gave in. By accident, but it worked. I tugged gently, but he wouldn't let go. I gave up and sat still, my fingers still wrapped in his. Liam stared at me, the frustration in his expression gradually softened. "You saved me once," he said. My eyes widened. "When?" He smiled, the memory surfacing. There was a flicker of disappointment in Liam's eyes, quickly hidden. "I knew you wouldn't remember." Liam was 17 when his father passed away from illness. The pillar of the family was gone. His mother and sister couldn't accept it and cried non-stop. Overnight, the boy was forced to grow up. He swallowed his grief and became the only emotional support his family had left. His mother's health collapsed from crying too much. Liam stayed by her side in the hospital for 3 days and nights without closing his eyes. After handling the funeral, he rented a place near the hospital, making sure Jenna could live close by. He stayed with his mother day and night, terrified she might do something reckless. He rushed constantly between home and the hospital, had no time to mourn and even less to take care of himself. In front of them, he kept up a strong, dependable front. But the more he buried the pain, the more it built up. Liam said that's when I appeared. And suddenly, I remembered. It was summer. My cousin had been hospitalized, and I was there taking care of her. On the hospital's rooftop terrace, I saw a boy wearing a mask. His whole posture was tired and sorrowful. Only his eyes were visible. Stunningly beautiful, wet with tears, impossible to look away from. He had missed his father so much, but didn't dare show it in front of his family. So he hid up there alone, silently crying. I was going to walk away, but then I saw him suddenly grip the railing and lean forward. He teetered dangerously. One slip and he would have gone over. It was a high floor. My heart stopped. The instinct to save him overpowered everything. I ran over and grabbed him. "Don't do it. Please don't do it. As long as you're alive, there's hope, right?" In my panic, my mind went blank. What could possibly make someone who's lost the will to live choose to stay? I can't even clearly remember what I said, but Liam remembered every word. "You started listing food," he said. "Because yes, food gives people a reason to love life." "You thought I was about to jump," Liam said softly, his voice like spring water. "But I was just too exhausted. I got dizzy, that's all." He looked at me, a smile tugging gently at the corners of his mouth. "You held me and begged me to stay alive. You cried harder than I did." I remember thinking, how can someone be so stupid? He reached out and gently patted my head. His eyes were full of warmth and affection. Stupid, in the cutest way. In that cold moment of grief and change, I had been a stranger's comfort, pure kindness. A rose extended before the weight of the world could fully crush him. He said I had saved him, and maybe, to him, it hadn't been a misunderstanding at all. For a boy on the edge of collapse, sometimes a single, unfiltered hug is the only thing keeping you here. The next day, Liam had asked around to find which room I was in. But I had already left the hospital with my cousin. He beat himself up for not asking my name or phone number. He searched blindly for years. He never imagined that fate would lead us to the same college. On the day of freshman registration, he spotted me in the crowd right away. He was about to rush over in excitement, only to see me holding hands with Ethan, the two of us glued together. I was glowing with love, eyes full of joy as I looked at Ethan, and Liam froze. For 2 whole years, he stayed quietly by my side, and I never even knew he existed. He didn't even say hello. "If you were happy," he said, "I didn't want to ruin it. But if you weren't, then I promised myself I'd be the first to show up." Turns out we met long before I ever realized. Back then, Liam had been wearing a mask. No wonder I hadn't recognized him. Even though we were on the same campus, our only link was Jenna. After finding out we knew each other, Liam had earnestly asked his sister to take care of me. Mischievous and sharp as she was, Jenna quickly caught on to her brother's feelings, and at the same time, saw firsthand how awful Ethan really was. So Jenna decided to tear off his mask the fastest way she could, by pushing me toward Liam. Suddenly, I remembered all those anonymous gifts I used to receive during the holidays. "All those gifts were from you, weren't they?" I asked. "And the bouquet of sunflowers too?" That had always been a mystery to me. Every major or minor holiday I'd get a package without a name. Each one came with a handwritten card that simply wished me happiness. The handwriting was elegant, beautiful. Sometimes it was a watch, a tumbler, a necklace. In winter, it might be a scarf, just when I needed one most. Once it was a pair of limited edition collab headphones that completely stunned me. Since I never knew who the sender was or what their intentions might be, and the courier said it couldn't be returned, I'd accept them, but I never used them. Turns out, all of it had been his quiet care. "I guess sending gifts like that might have bothered you," Liam said softly. His Adam's apple bobbed slightly. Then he gently reached out to straighten my bangs. His voice grew hoarse. "I'm sorry, I just missed you so much." Every time he missed me, he'd carefully pick out a gift, hoping that even if he couldn't be there, it could stay with the person he loved. And when I finally broke up with Ethan, he really was the first one to appear. Maybe, in all the times before, he'd already been quietly caring from a distance, feeling every moment of my joy, sorrow, and anger like it was his own. When I was with Ethan, I always felt like I didn't matter. His insecurity made me feel like I had to constantly prove myself, and I forgot what it meant to really love and be loved. Liam handed me a gift box and softly said, "Open it." Inside was the gaming console I'd been wanting for ages. Every time I thought about buying it, I'd chicken out. Ethan used to say it was childish. I got so used to suppressing myself just to avoid disappointing him, I hadn't even realized it had become a habit. My voice was muffled, tears threatening to spill. "How do you know everything?" I hadn't even recognized him. I'd never done anything for him. Maybe when you love someone, you instinctively learn everything about them. Every casual comment becomes a note to memorize. Every silly social post becomes something you reread and try to interpret. If I hadn't broken up with Ethan, if I hadn't tried to get revenge, if Liam hadn't taken such delicate care of me without ever showing resentment even when he knew what I was thinking, how long would it have taken me to notice his love? The more I thought about it, the more it hurt. Tears rolled down uncontrollably. Liam froze, fumbling to grab tissues, clumsily wiping at my cheeks. His brows were furrowed in panic and concern. "Bookmark, go back." "What's wrong? Don't cry, please don't cry." His voice was full of helplessness. "I shouldn't have told you, I'm sorry, Snow. Don't cry, okay?" I didn't respond. The tears wouldn't stop. Liam finally got flustered, completely at a loss, and blurted out a threat that came out more like a plea. "If you keep crying, I'm gonna kiss you. I mean it." "Are you scared?" I didn't say anything. Instead, I reached out and hugged him. I had made him wait far too long. "So this time, let me be the one to kiss him first."